Jackson Systems is your controls expert in the HVAC industry. With our top-notch technical support and customer service, we make life easier for you, the HVAC contractor. We offer free trainings on any products sold here at Jackson Systems, along with our filter fetch program, free thermostat imprinting, home and business automation with connected sensors, cameras, and even smart stats from Nest, Ecobee, Honeywell, White Rogers, Google, and more. Visit us at jacksonsystems.com to see the products that continue to win industry acclaim among contractors worldwide. Jackson Systems, controls done right.
You're listening to HVAC Shop Talk with Zack and Ralph Wolf, a proud member of the Blue Collar Roots Network. Welcome back to HVAC Shop Talk. I am Zack sitting alongside Ralph Wolf. Me and Ralph are sitting here kind of discussing what we were going to talk about in our lead-in, and I haven't even told Ralph the idea I had because it's kind of spur of the moment. You know, both of us used to be part of a service called Home Advisor, and Ralph was there first and I was there second. Every day it seems I receive an email from another service with a different name that does the same thing. And I'm wondering, how successful can people be using services like Nextdoor? Have you heard of that one?
Nextdoor? No.
Nextdoor, Thumbtack. You heard of that one?
Our buddy Rob talks about using Thumbtack.
So people we know are using these services. I've only used Home Advisor, so I'm kind of wondering, how successful are people that are using these services?
If you use them to their potential, you could be pretty successful doing it.
Well, I remember you telling me back when you started, a lot of your initial business came from Home Advisor / Service Magic.
Yeah, when I first started, it was Service Magic, and their business model was a lot different than it is today. Back then, they didn't charge you an annual fee. They just brought you in and just charged you by the call. I don't know. Did you use them as Service Magic or Home Advisor?
I believe whenever I started using them, they had just switched to Home Advisor from Service Magic.
Yeah, and they were still using the Service Magic's business model, and it worked. That was a great business model for us contractors. To me, the corporate mentality took over, and once that took over, their business model changed, and when it did, it wasn't as good for guys like us.
Yeah, I agree. Nowadays, they have a yearly annual charge, and what is it, like $300?
I'm not for sure. I mean, they called me and want me back because I had some really good reviews, but I'm sure they tell every contractor that you're the type of guy we're looking for. I told them I'd come back if you take that yearly fee away. Now we can't do that. I'm like, okay, well, I can't come back to you then.
Have they called you more than once to do this?
Oh yeah, I get phone calls from them all the time now, and I get emails. The email says, hey, we tried to call you. We just want to touch base and see if you want to join Home Advisor again.
So they forget about your prior conversation with all different people calling you every single time.
I think the last email I got was, hey, I have your folder on my desk, and I was just touching base with you.
Is it still $300? Yeah. Then it's still no.
Still no.
Whenever we were discussing this beforehand, what we were going to talk about, I looked down and I saw on my phone, I have an email from Jennifer at Nextdoor, which I'm guessing is a similar service, and I've heard of a lot of them. Thumbtack is one I know some guys have used. They've actually liked it, which I think you only pay for the leads that you accept or something along those lines, where Home Advisor, you get billed no matter what. If you get a lead and you don't get it, tough tiddlings, you pay them $15.
Right. And I didn't agree with that, especially if it was a bogus call. If you filed a bad claim against a call or whatever, here's how they told me they would do it. Let's say you got the lead and you called a guy, and the guy said, I never did this. Somebody put in a wrong phone number. And I'd call and complain, hey, that was a bad lead. If anybody answered the phone, it didn't matter if it was a wrong call or whatever. They said, no, to us, that's a good lead, as long as somebody answers the phone.
Wait a second. Let me get this right. So John Doe puts his thing on Home Advisor. He needs an HVAC company now. Baby is crying. It's 94 degrees inside. He puts in the wrong phone number, and Bill Doe answers the phone. It's on you to get to service his equipment somehow, because that's a good lead.
Right.
It's hard work right there, Ralph. That's good sales training. If you can get that guy who didn't even want you to come over to buy something from you, you're a good salesman.
And there's some contractors out there that would play games. Eventually, that guy would get caught. Unless you could prove that he did it, you'd never get your money back.
Wait a second. Someone on Home Advisor sent me a message one time, one of the leads, and I traced the address back, and it was actually another HVAC company's address. Yeah. And I was like, what are you doing? You tell me that's happened to you too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what happened to you? You said it's a bogus call. I mean, what was it? Like other company owners putting it out?
Other company owners. And you can't control them. One guy called, and he wanted to know if I dealt with the home warranty companies. That was the lead. And I was like, no. So I called them and said, hey, I want to report this as a bad lead. Because all he wanted to know is if I dealt with home warranty companies. It was a service call. It was the wrong type of business that he was calling. And they said, no, that's a good lead. No, it's not.
It doesn't feel like a good lead to us.
No.
It's a good lead for Home Advisor
Mm-hmm.
because they got their money.
So. Yeah. And, I've been out to calls and they say they only give your name to 3 different people. But I've called people and they say, you're the 7th guy that's called. Now, how do you prove that to Home Advisor? You can't. They can send that homeowner's name to 10 different people and you would never know it.
That's true. And we have to say now that that was an alleged scheme because we don't know. We can't have Home Advisor suing our podcast, can we?
Now, I'm not saying it happened or not. All I know is what the customer told me. And it happened with more than one customer.
I kind of wondered about that a few times myself. But like I said, I don't know how many people they sent the message out to. All I know is they got some fast people every time.
I would be holding my phone. As soon as I would get the text, I would call. So I don't know if they stagger the people or if they send them all out at one time. But if they send them all out at one time and I'm holding my phone, they would text you, email you, and call you.
Mm-hmm.
I would always get the text first. So I would hit that number. I wouldn't even know the people's name when I called them because you had to be that fast. So I couldn't say, Mrs. Smith, this is Ralph with TNN Services. You contacted Service Magic or Home Advisor, and I'm calling you back. Well, I've already got somebody. Thank you.
Wait a second.
I just got that like a second ago. How did you already talk to the guy?
Did you ever get the impression that people didn't really want a service call? They were just putting out feelers. And when people actually call, they kind of get freaked out and say they already had somebody.
I never got that impression.
I get that impression sometimes from them, or I did. I'm not with them any longer. But when I was with them, you call somebody, it's like, no, we already have somebody. That was really fast. You guys set that up. Almost too fast.
Yeah, almost too fast. If I call within the 2 seconds of getting the lead and they answer the phone and say, well, I've already got somebody. Somebody's already called. I've already scheduled somebody. It took me 1.3 seconds to call you. How did that guy get to call at the same time I did? Pick up the phone before me, talk to you, schedule the appointment, and you answered the phone when I called.
Hey, here's a test Home Advisor call for you. Are you ready?
All right,
here you go. Rang, 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 rang. Rang, 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 rang. Hey, man, how much you selling Freon for? That's my Home Advisor call. There's been 25,000 of those. Yeah.
And every time you get one of those calls, you get charged anywhere from, depending on what location you're in. If you're in a big city, the charges were different. My calls would be more than your calls because they consider where I'm at, Metro Atlanta. Let's say it's $15. So if I got 3 of those in a day, it's $45 a day times 7, because you would get those calls all 7 days.
Man, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That's $315, Ralph. That's enough to pay for your annual subscription.
I know. I didn't agree when they changed it to $350 a year. You're already making money off of me. Well, I know for sure that they're giving those calls to more than 3 guys at a time. I can't prove it because of the customers I've talked to and said, you're the 6th guy they called. Or even if I got the call, they would say, after I talked to you, 6 more guys called. When you get that multiple times from customers, you know that they're giving those calls out to more than 3 guys.
The competition is getting more fierce in Home Advisor's world because they do have all these other companies. So they have to drum up some more revenue, get some more customers, have to do something. So I guess that's what they're doing.
You know, back in the old days when all we had was the yellow pages, So nobody really had any competition. It was just local. But now you have all these different services that you can use, and they're all calling us, get them all the time. A lot of times I don't even answer my phone because even if they're from New York or California or whatever, they still have a local number. They get you on the phone and you're like, well, hey, look, I can't talk. I'm in an attic. Well, what would you say if we offered you this? And I'm like, well, I can't talk to you right now. Well, when would be a good time to talk to you? In the morning time? What time? And I'm like, well, I do service. I never know. I'm at work right now, just like you, trying to make a living.
I get more calls from Hawaii. I got 2 from Hawaii just a minute ago. Colorado, New York. I don't know any people in those places. It's just random companies.
Yeah. I got one yesterday or the day before, and the caller ID was the Netherlands.
Dude, that was Dan Foss calling you.
No, it wasn't Dan Foss. It was Google, actually. I've gotten a call from Great Britain. I'm like, maybe it's somebody that owns a house over here and they need a service call done. I've had people calling me from different places. With cell phones, you do get landlords that live in different states and they're just trying to get somebody to go take care of the house.
You know what, Ralph? You're the only guy I know that can get on YouTube and probably get a service call from friggin' Great Britain on YouTube. If it was going to be somebody, it's going to be.
Do you know that's actually happened?
I could have figured, I guess. I bet you.
I'm
from
serious.
Calcutta calling.
No, I had a guy call me from, I can't remember what country it was from, and I didn't answer because I'm like, I don't know anybody from over there. And then the guy texted me, and I texted him back, and it turned out that he owns a house 15 miles from me, and he saw me on YouTube.
Only you, my friend. Only you could have that happen to you.
I mean, I
can't get customers in my neighborhood, and you're getting customers from Timbuktu.
I had to go back through my texts, and I had to go back in my invoices and get the guy's name and look at the date and then go back through my text because I never delete my text. If you look at my text right now, I have probably, when I show pictures, like a screenshot of my text, like I have 94 unread texts right now.
Holy crap.
I'll put a screenshot of something in a text up on like Facebook or whatever. People will be like, that picture is great and all, but my OCD is bothering me because you have 94 unread messages. But what they don't see is those are one-word texts, like gotcha, or it gives me the address or whatever.
Yes.
And then I can go back in my customer list, get their address from there. I don't have to respond back to those texts, so I just leave them. I have one from a customer of mine that says, appreciate it. Now, I'm not going to go click on that. I'm not going to clear that out because it doesn't bother me.
Was it from the Queen?
No, the Queen.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ralph. We do have to get on to our interview because we've been talking for like 15 minutes, and we have to get into our part 2 with John Pastorello. So I know that you have to go probably change run capacitors for Vladimir Putin or something at his summer home in Atlanta. But before you go, let's talk to John Pastorello a little bit more about Refrigeration Technologies.
Hey, sounds good to me. Roll it.
Ralph, what makes EWC's smart bypass damper so innovative?
EWC Smart Bypass Damper automatically measures, maintains, and monitors operating static pressure of any zone system.
Don't they all do that now?
Now, with EWC's curved blade design, it will maintain true static pressure in all modes of operation. It also comes with a 5-year parts warranty and is the only bypass damper that is ACA compliant.
Visit EWCcontrols.com for more information.
Well, you're probably kicking yourself right now. October's here. You waited too long, and you didn't get 15% off on an iManifold by using the special promotional code we gave you last month. Well, there's good news out there, guys. You can still get your 15% off. The only difference is now, you had to use a special code FALLSPECIAL when you check out at iManifold.com. You can get your iManifold probes, iConnect, all sorts of goodies at 15% off throughout the entire month. So don't hesitate. Head on over to iManifold.com and pick you up some new stuff today and enjoy getting potentially hundreds of dollars off. Don't forget to tell them HVAC Shop Talk sent you.
Now, looking at your resume, and let me tell you, I was quite impressed with it. If you guys could see John's resume, you'd be like, man, this is the guy that I want to buy products from. And this is by no means a selling podcast, but we do want people to understand what the difference of your product compared to other people's product. You mentioned in there about coil cleaning. I've been using the foamy coil cleaner. It's brown. Some people call it root beer. I just call it foamy. That's the coil cleaner I use, and I use it in the pump up sprayer.
Okay.
I do pre-wash first, and then I spray it on, and I do dilute it. You're saying that we've been doing it wrong all these years.
Going back to my description of watching a professional window washer, and you can also observe a professional car washer. They'll kind of go up to a car. They'll work in circles. Window washer has his method. Tell you how I have found the best way to clean a coil. First, I go up to a coil, and I've got my hose, and I'm going to start rinsing it. And I'm going to start at the top of a coil. I'm going to rinse back and forth like I'm mopping a floor. And I'm going to do 12 inches at a time, starting at the top of the coil. And I'm going to mop back and forth and work down, getting between each row. And I want to make sure that my water is punching out through the back of the coil. If I'm not punching out through the back of the coil, you got to hit the other side of the coil as well. That's the pre-rinse. Now, let's say you've got cleaner and it's in a pump-up type sprayer and you've diluted it properly. First thing you want to do is you want to use a flat fan spray, not a cone spray or a barrel spray. You want to get a nozzle that has a flat fan spray. Reason for that, it penetrates better and it causes more turbulence when you spray it into the coil. The difference is I start from the bottom of the coil. Again, I will do 12-inch sections at a time. I will use that mopping motion. I will go start at the bottom and I'll work all the way up to the top using that quick mopping motion. I want to cause turbulence inside the coil as I'm applying. After I do that, I get to the top, end up doing the whole coil, just 12 inches at a time. Don't try and do the whole length of the coil at first. Just make sure you get that quick mopping motion. Of course, you want to let the coil cleaner sit on there, allow the detergent to penetrate. The detergent will go in there and it'll break the bond between the soil and the surface. When I say soil, I mean dirt, grease, soy sauce, all the different concoctions you find on a coil, depending on where you're doing the cleaning. So after you've applied all your coil cleaner, let it set 5-10 minutes. That's what we call dwell time. Then you can start rinsing.
You call it dwell time, but I call that Facebook time, John. They didn't have Facebook when you were operating, but we do now.
Well, if you're on a roof, you can also relieve yourself too if you find a good spot. The rinsing of the water usually sets me off.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
A tree or a bottle?
usually the roof drain.
There you go. There you go. Oh man.
Nathan would be proud.
Nathan would be proud. We had this joke going around Facebook. One of the owners of the company was in his company van. He was a passenger and looking down and saw this bottle in the floor. And he was like, "What is that bottle there?" He said, "That's my pee bottle." Well, the owner of the company just made a big deal of it. And he couldn't believe that a service tech would actually pee in a bottle. He almost created a poll about it, didn't he, Zach?
Yeah, he was really concerned. He thought it was just, I don't know, not disgusting. I think he thought it was disgusting. He couldn't believe it was actually happening out there in the service world.
Yeah.
Hey, you're stuck in a service truck in traffic trying to make it to your next call. There's no bathroom in your truck.
There you go.
Unless it's your seat.
Oh, geez. Not to get you off the subject, John. We just had to bring up that story just to
to
remind the guy because he's listening.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, I've done my initial cleaning and I've rinsed it down. Now I'm going to hit it again. I'm going to repeat. I'm going to do a lather, rinse, and repeat. Good example is when you shampoo your hair. First time you may take a small handful of shampoo and you shampoo your hair. But on the second time that you wash your hair, all you need is a tiny little dot of shampoo and you put it in your hair. Tons of lather, tons of foam. So on the second time that you wash your coil down, you're going to take your solution and you're going to double the dilution with water. And then you're going to apply it again, starting at the bottom and work your way up in 12-inch sections, using that mopping motion to cause a lot of turbulence inside the coil. It's the second wash that really does all the really deep cleaning. The detergent that didn't remove soil on the first go around, it may have weakened the bond, but not remove the soil. The second time you do it at even higher dilution, believe it or not, it really does a much better deep cleaning job than the first go around. Those are my coil cleaning tips for the day.
Well, while we're on coil cleaning, coil gun
Yes.
or pump up sprayer?
Oh, coil gun.
Coil gun, huh?
Let me tell you what. Soils bond to surfaces, and when I say soils, I mean dirt, grease, teriyaki.
You must have worked in a lot of Oriental restaurants.
Well, when I was doing service, Chinese restaurants were big, just like sushi restaurants are really big right now. I did a lot of Chinese restaurants. Believe me, that soy sauce, that teriyaki, it just gets in the coil and it's like epoxy. Like I was saying, that soils bond to surfaces at different contact angles. Not going to go into any scientific definition of what contact angles are, but they bond in very weird angles and they make bridges. The reason I'm having you use the pump sprayer and starting at the bottom, using the flat fan spray, causing turbulences in there, is because I want that solution to hit as many of the contact angles as possible. The advantage of using foam is that when you're pushing foam into a coil, all those millions of bubbles hit all the contact angles, which makes foam cleaning much more superior than applying flat liquid to a coil. If you want to do a Google search on foam cleaning and the advantages of it, they'll start talking about contact angles and how foam hits all these contact angles. Therefore, cleaner coil, better running equipment. Yes, I'm very big on the foam gun. I introduced the foam gun back in 1989. It was made by a company called Gilmore in Somerset, Pennsylvania. It was later copied by other people in the industry, but that's the way it goes.
Do you still offer a foam gun?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I thought the foam gun was invented about 5 or 6 years ago by New Calgon. That's why I'm asking.
No, New Calgon doesn't invent anything.
Thank you for saying that.
Hey, it's true. New Calgon is just a marketing company. They take other people's products, they put their name on it, and they sell it. They're a great marketing company, but they don't do anything as far as helping the industry.
Their tactic is they wait for some company to go out there and do all the heavy lifting and develop a market and establish a market for a certain product. And then they come out with their version. Since they're very dominant throughout the HVAC market, they have no problem selling it.
Because people trust the brand for whatever reason.
Correct.
But it's really not a brand that I actually want to put on my truck.
I kind of think of them as McDonald's.
Hold on. Let me scratch off this thing that says call New Calgon for sponsorship. Okay. All right. Keep on going.
Yeah. Good old Roy Kronk.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about corrosive coil cleaners because you mentioned in your email to me you should never use those cleaners. Why is that?
Number one, it's not safe for you or it's not safe for the aluminum, and there's no future in using it because everything's going over to aluminum microchannels. So you better get used to using some higher performance, non-toxic type cleaners that are aluminum safe. Learn how to apply them correctly. If you apply them correctly and you let that coil cleaner sit in there, the only thing that the non-toxic, non-corrosive coil cleaner is not going to do. It's not going to remove the oxidation and leave the coil shiny. And that shininess is just temporary anyway. I know with our Viper coil cleaners, we can get just as effective clean as the highly alkaline coil brighteners. Just takes a little bit more dwell time. There should be no problem with cleaning or removing soil with any of our Viper products in comparison to the coil brighteners. Why ruin the coil? Why open up the possibility of you getting a chemical burn? Like I said, they have no future anymore.
I was working on a microchannel coil and it said only use water to clean this microchannel coil. Do you have any coil cleaners that are approved to clean microchannel coils?
Yes, we do make a coil brightener. I don't even push it, but we have it because people demand it. I tell people, don't buy that. Buy our other product here that's non-toxic. All our coil cleaners are aluminum safe, and we've done all the testing and have all the test data to show that.
Are all your coil cleaners in an aerosol can, or do you offer gallon jugs?
Our most popular one is the aerosol Viper spray. It's a nice pin spray that foams up, and you aim the pin spray between the coil fins and foams up nice. And then again, you get that nice foaming penetration, covering all the contact angles. If you get it on you, it's not going to burn you. And it doesn't have any odors. And I remember when I was out there in the field and I was using those coil blasters and how you can't really be breathing the same air when you're using that stuff because it'll just knock you silly.
I love your Viper spray cleaner for evaporators, the self-rinsing evaporators. That stuff is fantastic.
That particular cleaner is outselling Big Blue now. We knew that was going to happen. Big Blue, that can last you on your service truck 3 or 6 months, but a can of coil cleaner is going to last you on service call. There's a higher turn rate. But we do make that aerosol and the gallon concentrate, and we do make a non-rinsing evaporator, a coil cleaner in a gallon that's already ready to use, so you don't have to dilute it down. Our evaporator coil cleaner is probably the only one out there that really gets rid of the smell. We use enzymes in that particular detergent that go after the biofilm that forms on evaporator coils, which is the source of all your smells. Gosh, that's been out since the year 2000. To this day, no one else in our industry is using enzymes in their coil cleaner, and we appreciate that. They haven't caught up yet.
Why do you think that is? Why wouldn't they use them? It's just something they haven't stumbled across, or what?
When I go into a supply house and I look at their coil cleaner display and I look at all the different brands, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at detergents that were formulated back in the 80s and maybe early 90s. That's what I see. Now, you probably see red, yellow, pink, blue, or whatever.
Yes.
I see because I've taken all those coil cleaners. I've analyzed them. I know what my competition uses. And there's really no new technology in there. I mean, would you use a computer from the 90s?
Not willingly.
No, really. Well, that's what you got on the shelves of your supply house. Right?
And all these are approved for food prep service, the ones you've mentioned?
It was a no-brainer. When I formulate, I want to formulate so that it can be used in and around food, because refrigeration is food. So why would I formulate anything different? If it can't be used around food, then it's not really worthwhile selling in this industry.
Well, I know my partner here, who has skipped out on us for a second, a couple months ago, he tested out a leak sealant made by Rector Seal, a refrigerant leak sealant, and he actually drank a small bit of it to prove that it was non-toxic. Now, he's insane, so don't ever do anything like that. Could you do the same thing with these evaporator cleaners?
You don't want to do that. They're detergents. What does a detergent do? Probably give you nausea, probably give you the runs. They're not meant to be
The only reason I say this and ask that question is so that Ralph hears it and knows that he won't drink them, because he has a history of drinking HVAC related products. I just don't want him to die on us.
Oh, okay.
Hey, it was just a little shot. It's just a little shot.
Oh, you are there.
I'm here.
I thought I'd throw that in there for you, Ralph, just because I could see you taking a shot glass full of Viper spray clean and going, it's non-toxic.
Well, I was just trying to prove a point on that particular product.
I know you were.
John, for many years, I've been using a product called Hot Dam. It's a heat putty to reject the heat from where I'm brazing. Since then, you come out with the trade name Wet Rag. But now they also have the spray gels. What's the difference in all of those?
Spray gel is just a water-based product. Water boils at 212 degrees. It's okay if you're a plumber and you're just doing soft soldering, but when you're doing oxyacetylene, the spray gel isn't going to hold up. We're coming out with a spray gel too, but we're basically going to market it in conjunction with our putty, because people want to fireproof drywall and studs when they're brazing in that area. So we're coming out with a spray gel to complement the putty. The putty is something that my son saw being demonstrated at a trade show, and he got really excited and said, Dad, you got to come over and watch this stuff. And I looked at it and I go, okay, well, how much is it? And blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, you'll never compete with a wet rag. When I was a technician, that's all I'd use. Wet rag, never have any problems with it. And he kept pushing me on the idea. And I said, okay, well, let's get some in. So we got about 3 or 4 different brands of these putties, and we tested them, and we tested them against a wet rag. To my surprise, the putties worked a lot better than wet rag, because the putties are basically high temperature ceramic material that is wetted out with a flame retardant emulsion. It works better than a wet rag. And so I said, okay, let's run with it. We came out with our own version, and it's comparable to Hot Dam and all the other products out there. There's not much difference that I could say about our product, other than I know ours is California compliant.
So it doesn't cause cancer?
There was a problem with some of the others that their base material, when it came in contact with a flame, that it would produce trace amounts of toxic vapors known to the state of California to cause cancer.
Right.
So we made sure when we formulated our wet rag heat putty, we did not use the same material, and we didn't have to put a cancer warning on our product.
Let's say I'm doing a TXV or a reversing valve. That's really the only time I use my thing of Hot Dam. I'm just using a wet rag on the coil, a valve or something like that.
Never failed me.
Right. I always use a wet rag. But now when I'm doing a TXV or a reversing valve or even a dryer now, protect the paint of the dryer with what I call Hot Dam. What I do is I take some out. The product is really nice because what you don't burn, you put back in the tub and you can use it again. And if it dries out, you just add a little moisture to it, mix it up, and you can reuse it. What I do is like a plumber would use his plumber's putty. I take some out and I roll it in my hand and create this little string thing, and I wrap it around where I need to. I don't use a ton of it because I don't think you have to use a bunch of it.
No, you don't. It's a blocking compound. When you put it on a TXV or dryer or whatever, the only thing that's going to heat up is the air inside. So you got to be careful about that. You don't want to be leaving your torch on there all day long because the air inside is going to heat up. I mean, there's just no way you can stop that. Now, if you're flowing nitrogen, that's not going to be a problem. Flow your nitrogen in a direction that takes the heat away from the valve, of course.
Right.
The nitrogen you're heating inside is being pulled away. It's been a great product for us. I gave it no chance of selling out there, but gosh, we're selling gobs of it now.
I've had my little tub for probably 2.5 years.
Really?
I only use it for when I'm doing, like I said, reversing valves or TXVs. If I'm doing a valve on a unit or something, I'm using a wet rag.
That's one of the problems I saw with it. I said, how are we going to make any money off this if it's going to last people 30 or 40 uses? There's no turn on it.
Well, like I said, I just picked the black spots off where I have burned it, and I put it back in the tub. It's reusable.
You dry out a little, you just put a little water in there and work it around like Play-Doh and reuse it.
I like it better than the spray gel simply because you can reuse it. You're not going to gather up all your gel that you've sprayed on the valve.
For the $25 a contractor spends on it, it lasts them a long time. So there's good value in it for the contractor. The spray gel, gosh, that can cost you like $26 for a bottle of that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I know some guys use it. They just use it like I use my Big Blue. Get the bottle close to it and just let it go on there flat, like you're talking about.
Right.
But I've seen guys use it, some of these videos, and they're taking it and they're like 14 inches away and they're just spraying away, and it looks like it's making a mess.
We're coming out with our own version.
Now, that product, I believe if you put in a dabber, I think that would be better than a spray bottle.
Well, the uniqueness of the spray is you can cover more area quicker.
But do you really need that much?
I would use a good 1/4 inch thick layer if I'm around drywall, if I'm around studs, if I'm soldering a pipe, I would pretty much lay a pretty thick layer on there. It's going to boil off pretty damn quick.
Well, a lot of guys are using a spray gel on doing valves and stuff like that. That's why I suggested it in a dabber.
I don't know about using it on valves unless they're using some really low temperature solder. I wouldn't trust it because we tested it in here. It acts just like water. It's just thickened water basically is all it is. And I think when we come out with ours, I think we can get it out there for $17-18 a quart and really just slash the price over the competitors because there's really not that much to it.
At the end of every single show, I know this has been a 2-part episode, but this is the second part and the final part. I put it to Ralph Wolf to come up with something brilliant to say, to encapsulate everything we've learned in the most intelligent way possible. Ralph, what do you have to say for yourself this time around?
Well, this time's going to be different because normally I just wish the guests farewell and adieu. But today, I want to thank the chemical industry for putting John in a lab where he had to test urine all day long. Because without that, I wouldn't have my beloved Big Blue. So, John, with that being said, I want to thank you and wish you farewell and adieu.
The YJ LTE refrigerant recovery system is nothing less than the smallest, lightest, and most powerful unit in its class. There's never been so much time and cost-saving innovation packed into such a compact, small package. We're talking built-in purge circuit, superior condenser performance, and single valve operation. It may be small, but it's built to handle the biggest and toughest recovery jobs you can throw at it. Find out more at yellowjacket.com. And don't forget, we're made in the USA.
Meet Zoomlock, the 10-second flame-free refrigerant fitting from Parker. Reduce labor costs by 60% with no brazing, no flame, and no fire spotter. Discover how Zoomlock can help you be more efficient and productive. Visit Zoomlock.com for more information.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of HVAC Shop Talk. Hopefully you downloaded this episode. You can do that using apps like Stitcher and Podcast Addict for Android, or you can use the podcast app for your iPhone. We're giving away some EWC zoning products coming up real soon. We just released a short mini podcast about our EWC giveaway. Go download that podcast, check it out. It'll let you know how to win a full EWC zone system. You can use it at your house. You can use it for a customer. It's a lot of great zoning supplies. You'll love it. So check that podcast out, download it, take a listen to it. You'll figure out what you need to do next. Also, the brand new mystery amp probe tools have arrived. We're very excited about this. I'll be sending Ralph his tool. I just took mine out. I've been playing with it. It's very cool. And we're going to be giving away one of those as well. We're not going to tell you what it is right now, but you need to be on the email list to win that tool. You can get on the email list by going to Facebook, to our Facebook page, HVAC Shop Talk. There's an email sign-up button there. You might have to use your browser on your phone. There is some issues with finding that on the Facebook app. You can also go over to the HVAC Shop Talk YouTube channel. In the description of a lot of those videos, there's a link to the sign up for the email. Like I said, guys, I appreciate you listening. We hope to see you on the next one.